going to run it. Crowd loves it. Touchdown. Pressure again. Runs away from it. Throws on the run. Caught. Touchdown. Dalton Kincaid. Now it's a 4th and 10. One last gasp. And that is going to be caught for a touchdown by Mike Evans. The 10-yard line. 5. Mayfield dancing all around. Throw as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time. Incomplete.
Al, come on, man. Turn it up, buddy. Baker Mayfield's Hail Mary heave in the final seconds lands unmolested in the end zone with Pro Bowl wide receiver Chris Godwin reacting just a touch too late. It was that close to one of the craziest come from behind wins in NFL history. I mean, it would have been an absolute massive national story if somehow the Bucs pulled that off, but they didn't. And the Bills, who badly outplayed their opponent for most of Thursday night, come out ahead 24-18 at Buffalo, with Josh Allen leading the way, throwing for over 300 yards, accounting for 3 total touchdowns. Bills back on track at 5-3. Bucs keep losing, now 3-4. I am Dan Hanzus, Around the NFL podcast. Marc Sessler is with me. And Mark, I guess I'll start here. And I was texting with you that absurd was 24. This is where it was 24-10. It's midway through the 4th quarter, and the Bucs are going on this marathon drive that seems like a marathon drive to nowhere. 17 plays, 92 yards, 3 4th down conversions. It chews up half the quarter, and it just all felt kind of sad, quite frankly. It does end with the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. And the fact that they ended up getting the ball back and getting that ball in the end zone, I guess it's a minor victory for the Bucs, but the Bills take the real one.
I guess so. It felt like the Bucs were sort of like someone just hanging out in your living room and not refusing to leave a little bit. Like it was something of a punchless long day at the office for them. But then there's there at the end and like the Chris Godwin moment in the final seconds. It's like that could have been transformative, but it was very symbolic that drive. I mean, typically, like historically, you know me well. Like if I knew that there was going to be a 17-play, 92-yard drive that chewed up 7+ minutes, I'd be overjoyed. But in this game, it kind of just was like a building block to a kind of indestructible end. And I don't know. I feel like the Bills are they're working their way through these games. There were a couple positives for the Bills, certainly. Like I thought a couple people stepped up tonight in a way that gives you some hope.
More than a couple, Mark. That's why part of like the craziest thing about the way this game ended is it tried so hard to obscure what was a tremendously positive night for the Bills. And to extend what you were saying just a little bit further before I throw it back to you, buddy, you said it was like the uninvited guest who stays till the end.
A little bit.
It's almost like, but this guest that was staying till the end didn't say anything for the first 4 hours of the party and was just kind of like taking up room on the couch, and then all of a sudden became the life of the party. And it was like, this would have been great if you did it earlier, but it's like, I still don't know if I'm going to invite you next time.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're coming back. But yes, you are right. Like, I mean, I think that it was hopeful to see someone like Khalil Shakir have a career high in yardage, like Dalton Kincaid. And, you know, with Dawson Knox out, Dalton Kincaid almost in a beneficial, wonderful way steps into this lead role. And tonight he made a couple huge plays. And I don't know if it's like, maybe it's not the most inspiring performance from the Bills. And you look back to some of their dominant weeks from, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's like, we're not getting that version of this offense. But I really loved how guys like also Gabe Davis too just stepped up tonight to perform. And it was a nice performance by Josh Allen, but I don't know. I don't come out of this. Am I wrong? I come out of this feeling like the Bills are sort of just there right now. And they don't strike me as an AFC dominant figure. They're doing what they're doing. Like the Bucs hung around till the end tonight. A lot of that had to do with other aspects of the game, but it's just like Buffalo to me is working through some of their own issues, even though they tonight produced like 450 yards. Like when I think of a game where someone drops 450 yards, it's not what I wouldn't think of this game, even though there was production.
So yeah, I disagree a little bit because I thought that other than their inability to kind of close that game out and make it's absurd that it got to that last point. And by the way, credit to Baker. That was a beautiful Hail Mary throw.
Yeah.
I think there was so many positives for the Bills. I mean, the fact that, you let Josh cook. You let Josh Allen cook, and you let him run the football. Hey, do you have Randy Chavez, Big Funk? Do you have... Because this is earlier in the game, and it speaks to some frustration that was around this team. Al Michaels even said it himself. The narrative around the team is like, why isn't Josh Allen running more? Here is right before the first play of the second quarter when it's 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, and the sideline interview is with Todd Bowles, head coach of the Bucs.
Big 4th down coming up. What do you expect here?
I expect the quarterback to run the football.
Thank you, guys.
So that was moments ago. You heard what he expects. Let's see what they do here on a 4th down and goal. Throws, knocked away.
So, like, Todd Bowles is saying it, and I appreciate the candor from Todd there.
Yeah, that was actually one of the better coaching commentaries during a game, because you don't get those too often.
I mean, you never get the coach actually saying what he thinks the play call is going to be. And, that's one of those things where Todd Bowles thinks he's going to run the football, Josh Allen, because that's the last thing that the Bucs want to see, because they probably can't stop a giant like Josh Allen running downhill on a design play on 4th and goal. But they throw the ball and let him off the hook, and I'm like hitting myself in the head, like, why on those last couple plays at the goal line is Josh Allen not finding his way into the end zone? And yet, yes, they get turned away there, but they still it feels like we're missing that extra touchdown that makes it the 30 burger, that makes everything make a little more sense in this game. That was it right there. They didn't punch that in. But overall, like, I thought Allen was tremendous in this game. He threw the 1 interception, but was really good. I'm watching James Cook, and I'm having like a brain cramp, and I'm like, man, he reminds me of somebody. He reminds me of like a young Dalvin Cook, who is his brother, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes sense. And then you have, yes, Khalil Shakir, you mentioned, but Gabe Davis, like, welcome back, bud. Like, we need, the Buffalo Bills are saying we need somebody else to step up and deliver. And he was getting open and pulling the ball in all day. 9 catches, 87 yards, a touchdown, 12 targets. You mentioned Kincaid as well, Mark, who is going to step into a bigger role now. They put Dawson Knox on the IR. He has a big game. And I thought even more importantly with Kincaid, he looked like he's fit for the part, and this is not going to be like one game wonder in primetime. I think he's going to be a big guy for them the rest of the year. And to do it when Stefon Diggs, despite 9 catches, was really quiet in this game, so they were able to move the ball without him being the guy at the center of everything. I thought it was a tremendously positive day for their offense.
That's the takeaway, because it's like I think we've been talking about the Bills as like someone else needs to emerge as a difference maker, and it could be Kincaid. Like, it seemed like that would happen even earlier in the season, and in these games when Stefon Diggs hasn't been almost like a wild, superfluous positive, sometimes the Bills' offense has disappeared. What I mentioned before is just like, I guess what I wanted Buffalo to do. This would have changed my mind on the night a little bit. And everything that we've talked about is true. There were a lot of positives and things you can take away and build on. But you closed the game with 4 punts, 4 straight punts all around midfield. And it's just like, it seemed like they kept inviting Tampa Bay, a very average team, a vapor, really just an apparition of a team, back into the game. It's like, why are we in those final moments? It's like, I want to see Buffalo just axe their heads off, to be honest, and like put a final arrow into them. And it ended with a sort of a whimper. It doesn't take away from the rest of it, but it's just like Buffalo to me feels like they're still kind of figuring out, working through some stuff, and that's okay. And people stepped up tonight, but it wasn't like wow, without question, they went and dropped a hammer on a much lesser opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I think this game should. What you're saying, I think, is the game should have been 34-18 or whatever.
Exactly.
It
That's
would have
all
made
I
more
mean. It
sense.
should have been like absolutely. There's no reason that
it's
Baker Mayfield's doing what he's doing at the end.
I also think that's why I'm, as like someone who's watching, we're watching these games closely and we're going to be talking about it. And I'm watching that drive by the Bucs and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to make the game seem different than what it was. And then when the Bills get one first down, but not the second, and punt it away again, all they really have to do then is burn 20 seconds off the clock and don't let the Bucs get near midfield. And they do, which allows that Hail Mary, which again was nearly completed. So yeah, the game broke in a certain way to make it feel maybe differently than what it was from my perspective, which was the Bills really in control and the Bucs in a lot of ways just feeling like for 54 minutes they were a bit player in this. And they're less than 20 points again, Tampa Bay. I think this Baker is a tough guy. That long touchdown drive in the fourth quarter that was extended, by the way, on after fourth down stops twice when a flag came out, including a face mask on a sack of Baker. He took a beating on that last drive, and he does not quit. He's an easy guy to root for from that perspective, but the offense has also been very, very, very mediocre for about a month now, ever since the schedule tightened up. And I just think that's what this is. This is an NFC South team, like the rest of them, deeply flawed. So they'll hang around probably in that division because it's just, I think 8 or 9 wins will probably win it. But you saw this team is, they could hang around in a game like this if everything breaks the right way, which I think it pretty much did. You got a goal line stop and then the silliness in the last half of the fourth quarter. But this is probably as close as they can get to a big time team, which I think Buffalo is.
Yeah, and someone had told me that, with minutes to go that Mike Evans would have 7 yards. I would say that Buffalo's defensive game plan or whatever they came in hoping to do would have been to absolute perfection because Evans is the key to that offense, and you get a little bit of Chris Godwin and Cade Otton. Outside of that, they've got nothing. We've talked about their running game. It doesn't exist. But Baker Mayfield, it's like, I will say I'm with you in the sense that, I've been as frustrated by Baker Mayfield career-wise as anyone because he was Cleveland's quarterback and there were so many ups and downs. But it's like, he just does not, the thing I like about him is that insane drive. He doesn't care what the score is. He don't care what's happening. He doesn't matter what the stats are. It's he just keeps going. And he looked to me almost like he was in physical pain during part of this game. And I think he came into the game banged up. And I just don't think he was at full health. And it's the one thing I can give Baker Mayfield credit for is he will keep toiling on. And he'll keep a team like the Bucs. If you're hoping for the Bucs to be out of the picture, I think the problem is they're going to be in the picture until the second to last week of the season, and we'll find out what happens to them. They'll be average enough and just good enough to hang around. And even tonight, I thought was a microcosm of what I think their whole season will be.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had thrown for about 125 yards before that last drive, and the offense was just stuck in mud. And even it's one of the craziest drives you'll see all season. I mentioned that it got extended twice on fourth down on penalties. The touchdown bounced off. Baker underthrew it. It hit the defender's helmet and then bounced into Mike Evans' arms. Then they go for 2, and it gets batted straight up in the air and right into the arms, I believe, of Otton for the 2-point conversion. It was just bonkers. And I think the Bills and Sean
and
McDermott...
also, Dan, that blew up the spread, I believe, too. I think there are all these people going
that's
absolutely
why you
nuts
don't do it.
on,
Listen, those commercials all around us, they say go do it. I say don't do it because it will drive you crazy. But I think the Bills, I guess, in terms of lessons, because they came very close to, again, in a shocking rock the NFL world, losing this game in a stunning manner, close out the team, like you're saying. I think they took their foot off the accelerator, running out the clock. 'Cause I think they kind of thought the Bucs were ready to go home too, and then all of a sudden they score that touchdown, and it gets a little interesting. A couple things, Mark.
Yes.
The red lamps were off in the loge. I talked about if the Bills had any chance of fulfilling their dreams and finally getting back to the Super Bowl and finally taking a Lombardi trophy to Western New York. You got to shut off those heat lamps. I understand it was a bit of a mild night in late October in Western New York, but let's keep those red lamps off because I thought the offense was humming in a way we haven't seen since the Miami game. I don't think it was a coincidence.
No, I mean, so yes, I believe it was at the start of the game. It could have been in the 50s or 60s, which most humans can endure to some degree. But we're dealing with, again, the Buffalo elites.
Right.
But listen, they've not turned those off before, as far as we know. Like, you issued that edict on yesterday's show, and I think Western New York or the powers that be at that stadium thought we need to listen to this wisdom and toughen up, and they did. And so you have incredible civic power over the Buffalo region.
Put it this way. If those red lamps are flipped on, it might catch Chris Godwin's attention, and he looks up just a split second sooner, and he catches that ball in the end zone. Let's just. You can't say that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? There's no way to prove it.
So Dan, the lifelong loyal Jets fan, helps create a tremendous regular season victory for the Buffalo Bills. That is
right.
a strange legacy.
It's magnanimous. I also thought we were denied something in this game. A kicker. The kicker. Who was the kicker for the Bucks? Crazy son of a bitch.
Oh, do you mean the helmet?
Dude, Chase McLaughlin.
Oh, okay.
He hits a 57-yarder, and then a scrum breaks out, and the guy took his helmet and took a swing. Like, we were ready to give Myles Garrett the electric chair for this a couple of years back. And the officials, and, they have Park Avenue or whatever, taking a look at these replays for these type of fouls. They come back, and they're like, no penalty. I wanted a kicker to be kicked out of the game for swinging his helmet like a caveman at an opponent. We should have had that. That should have been a major storyline today.
Yeah, I thought it was the punter, but either way, it should be like we've got to be.
Was it Jake Camarda? I think you're right.
Yeah, it was
actually.
Camarda, I think. But he's a sort of a beefy individual too from the replays. I feel like we have precedent that swinging helmets on island games is not a great idea and attracts attention and attracts punishment. And this just flew under the radar.
Like, they were ready to reopen Alcatraz when Myles Garrett swung his helmet against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They're just going to ship him out there and seal the gates. Let's see. So I was bummed about that. I was bummed when I saw Green Day. Little passage of time stuff going on there. I don't know if you caught that.
Well, looking like, they were the hobbits from Lord of the Rings next to, I don't know who they were. They looked diminutive compared to the people they were standing next to, but
yeah, Trey Cool looked like almost embalmed, and then the only other thing I want to say about the game is they downplayed it, and he certainly didn't seem to struggle throwing the football, but they also were pretty conservative down the stretch, and the sideline reporter for Amazon made a note that after one of the touchdowns, Josh Allen didn't even lift his right arm to high five people. So he's clear. He went into the blue tent for a little bit, and he made it through this game, and Sean McDermott downplayed it coming out of halftime. And Randy just said gave us a little note. That was 2 Chainz, by the way, with Green Day. As you could tell, the chemistry between 2 Chainz and Green Day, you can't reproduce that. That's like John Madden and Pat Summerall is the way I thought about it. And Al Michaels called him Deuce.
It was an odd pairing. I mean, I know there were more than 2 people, but it was an odd mixture of 2 entities.
But yes, the Josh Allen shoulder situation is something to keep an eye on because this team is in a fight here for both the division and hopefully they hope the top seed and a bye in the AFC. So you need the quarterback to be healthy. So that's something to keep an eye on. Finally, saw this tweet come across my timeline in my mentions during the game. It was from Miles Thomas. Don't ask how we got here, but found some deep buried internet treasure. And this is Marc Sessler from our blogging days for NFL.com, the Around the League blog. Colts victory takes backseat to monkeys riding dogs. And I got you a lead that will Cook your butt off. The Indianapolis Colts deserve praise for Sunday's 28-16 win over the Houston Texans, but let's not forget what matters here. Really matters, stylized with italics. That's right, monkeys riding dogs.
Okay, so hold on. First of all, this was back in the days when we'd go to work and we were just it's funny that they put my name on that because I don't even know if I had a byline initially back in those days, and they're putting my current headshot like I wrote this 2 weeks ago, like I'm a total psychotic. But we were often told quickly, listen, this is a big moment, and I do remember this event, and it was quite visually enticing, the monkey riding the dog, and it had our whole newsroom.
Here it is. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, if you're watching the YouTube version, tell me this is not cool. This is cooler than anything we saw tonight. This is a small monkey on top of what kind of dog is that? That's sort of a Labrador? I don't know.
It's not a Labrador. I don't know.
I don't know anything about dogs, but it's like a shepherdy type dog.
Yeah.
But the monkey clings to it. Its legs are straddled.
The
on top
monkey's
of the
probably
dog.
absolutely terrified. But anyway, this is from a decade ago, and it just was a reminder of we wrote a lot of dumb shit for this website. And
yes,
on
we
the
did.
20th anniversary of NFL media. That might have been, they asked us to do those little videos talking about our time with the company and celebrating the anniversary. You could have just done 3 minutes on that article, the 58 words, and slap the video on top and check that one off the box that day.
It would have taken off. It would have been, celebrated the way it was when I wrote that article. So it would have just been, I wouldn't call it redundant, but a celebration of those old days.
So there you go. Good stuff. Bills, get it done. It gets scary. If Chris Godwin has the red heat lamps, catch his corner of his eye, he catches the Hail Mary, and the Bucs win 25-24. But the lamps were off, so he didn't see it, and the ball went unmolested to the turf at Highmark Stadium. I think that is the big takeaway today.
Unmolested.
I do feel better about the Bills than you, Mark, but I get what you're saying as well.
I feel fine about them. I just I don't know, there's something about their energy, the journey. It feels like we're a year past the window being wide open, but you know what? I'm typically wrong about 19 out of 20 things, so probably most of Buffalo can take hope in that.
I guess the one other thing, because we didn't really touch on it, was they jump ahead 10-0. And then the Allen interception leads to a short field and a touchdown, and all of a sudden it's 10-10. And the stadium gets a little quiet. Otherwise, it was raucous there. And I did, again, the positives. Instead of the Bills going into a shell, which they have in different spots this year, they took control of the game, went ahead by 2 touchdowns before things got funky late. But I think there are very major positives to take out of it as they look to really start building some momentum and reestablish himself as a top dog in the AFC. Next week at Cincinnati, Sunday Night Football. So, no, not next week. They're on a bye, and then they go to Cincinnati. So Josh Allen in that gets a long rest now if he does have shoulder issues. He doesn't play again. It's October 26th as we tape this. He doesn't play again until November 5th. So that's very good news for the Bills as well. So in a lot of ways, a very good night for the Buffalo Bills, even if the final score made it feel a little bit different than that. That's it for the Thursday Night Football edition of Around the NFL. Make sure you check back in on Sunday for the flagship program where we recap every game on Sunday. Till then, heed the call. I mean, the monkey's got to be scared, right? There's also 65,000 people there watching it, yelling. They're intelligent creatures, but, not that intelligent.